Everybody knows the Scarlet Spider. He's the snazziest Spidey to ever exist, and anyone who disagrees is either trying to sell you a bad costume or recently had a rather successful lobotomy. I kid, of course. I actually recently had a lobotomy myself, and I cannot recommend it enough. So, you know that iconic blue hoodie, right? The peak webless design with the huge pointy eyes, those awesome silver web shooters on his wrists? You love it, right? It's rad as hell, it's a super menacing look for a Spidey character to have, and it's pretty dang easy to cosplay. But did you know that Ben Reilly, the blonde or mulleted webhead under the mask, didn't share this opinion back in the day? Good old Benny Boy, the notorious exiled clone of Peter Parker from the infamous Clone Saga, actually hated the costume and despised the name Scarlet Spider. He didn't even come up with it. No, some smarmy weasel called Ken Ellis of the Daily Bugle cooked it up after Ben wouldn't give him an interview. Ben got so mad at the title, he legit thought about breaking into the Bugle just to beat up Ken for having the audacity to stick him with that name publicly. And unfortunately for Mr. Reilly, the name stuck with the general public, and he kinda just had to live with it. Still, throughout the entire Clone Saga, both the name and the look were mocked and ridiculed endlessly by heroes and villains alike, including by good old red and blue spandex himself, Peter Parker. And the truth is, deep down, Ben hated being the Scarlet Spider, because he felt that he couldn't be the hero that Spider-Man was. He didn't inspire hope and optimism for the citizens of New York like the classic Spidey did. And when he truly became the only webhead in New York, he dropped the Scarlet Spider like a ton of bricks. As soon as he got the chance, he threw that old hoodie in the trash and became the sensational Spider-Man, which to me is honestly the best look the wall crawler has ever had. The web pattern thanks to Dan Jurgens, the spider that can be black or blue depending on the interpretation, the silver web shooters, the split boots. I love it all. It is just so quintessentially 90s, and it's a hell of a look. And Ben Reilly was happy. He adored being Spider-Man. He didn't see it as a curse like Peter Parker did. He saw it as a blessing. Putting on the mask and swinging across those skyscrapers to web up crooks and save a couple New Yorkers in distress was the best part of his day. A lot of fans these days are always clamoring to say that Ben Reilly should just be the Scarlet Spider again, but it really doesn't work for his character. The whole point of that chapter of his life was that it was a stepping stone for Ben on the path to becoming the hero he knew he could be. Spider-Man. He lived as Spidey, and he died as Spidey, and he didn't want it any other way. Truly, this blonde wall crawler was our first look at the idea of Spider-Man being a mantle that other heroes like Miguel O'Hara and Miles Morales would take up in the present-day Marvel Comics. And what's more, Kaine Parker, the other infamous clone from the Clone Saga, was so inspired by Ben during the events of Spider-Man Redemption that he became the new Scarlet Spider in his own comics. He took a bemoaned, ridiculed idea and made it his own in such a special and outstanding way. Truly, he took what Reilly started and molded it into something far better than it was. For Kaine, it wasn't just a stepping stone. It wasn't something he was saddled with against his will. He became the Scarlet Spider in honor of his brother and turned it into a title worth celebrating. I've had my gripes with Kaine in the past, especially with those readers who say he's more interesting than Ben, but that won't stop me from loving him and his extremely underrated story of brotherly love and finding hope and inspiration through the actions of those closest to you, those that you might have lost in the past. And I can say that Kaine Parker is a better Scarlet Spider than Ben Reilly ever was, ever hoped to be. It's his title now. He made it his own. Now, all that's not to say Ben hasn't donned his hoodie and webless spandex ever again. In fact, he had a whole new Scarlet Spider run in 2016 thanks to the likes of Mark Bagley and Peter David. He teamed up with Kaine, fought some demons, and died and got resurrected for the bajillionth time. Yay! But, it wasn't meant to last. People weren't a fan of the regression for Ben, didn't like that Kaine had taken a back seat for the original to come running back onto the scene, And huge Ben fans, like myself, were still livid over the character having been brought back in Dan Slott's clone conspiracy just to shit all over the character's legacy. In fact, we didn't even see the Scarlet Spider for years after the run, despite having hints to them being in new stuff all over the place. It just always got cut at the last second. See, Marvel editorial didn't want to use Ben Reilly because they fucking hated his guts, and they mostly just forgot that Kaine even existed after Ben was brought back. That is, until Nick Lowe and Zeb Wells took over the Spidey office and announced Spider-Man Beyond. It was set to be a short new stint on the Amazing Spider-Man title, with Ben Reilly dyeing his hair blonde and stepping back into the webs as New York's mainline Spider-Man, while Peter Parker was in a coma and Miles Morales was dealing with his own Clone Saga. The blonde webhead got a snazzy new look with the Spider-Man Beyond suit and finally got to settle in as the hero he always wanted to be again. For a little while. Just a little while. It was a good time to be a fan of the character. It seemed like they were truly bent on bringing him back to his former glory and leaving behind his dark days as the Jackal and playing second fiddle to Kaine's far better Scarlet Spider. Oh, and speaking of Kaine, he isn't mentioned one time in the entirety of Beyond. So again, they just forgot about that dude. I'm so sorry, Kaine fans. You guys are taking a lot of L's and you don't deserve them. And of course, the entire run came to a stunningly horrible conclusion where both Nick Lowe and Zeb Wells spit in the face of every Ben Reilly fan and hit us with a resounding decree. Ben Reilly can never be Spider-Man. Nope, fuck him. We hate him. He's Chasm now. Deal with it. Cope, seethe, mauled, cry. So yeah, Ben Reilly, a character whose entire arc was about finding himself and taking step after inspiring step towards becoming a hero and an inspiration to the people of New York as Spider-Man, is now a villain known as Chasm, with literally no character beyond being basically Webman. Oh, and his costume is ugly as hell. Baja Blast looking ass. Well, that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to say. If you think he should return to the Scarlet Spider title after someone inevitably undoes the Chasm shit, I honestly think you're wrong. He deserves to be Spider-Man just as much as Peter Parker and Miles Morales, and Kaine deserves to be the one true Scarlet Spider. They've all earned their places, and I don't understand this hatred that Ben gets saddled with by the Spidey office. It really does suck as a fan of the character. Still, I have hope that he'll return in his gorgeous, sensational costume eventually, and we'll all forget any of this ever happened. Right? Right? Now, before we head out, I'd like to thank Queen Crimson, Serenity, Roderick Hare, Alex the Awesome, Super 8-Bittable, Ubeck, and Caroline Wooden for becoming members of the channel. Friendly reminder that it's only 99 cents a month. I'd appreciate the heck out of you for joining, and you get access to exclusive member shoutouts, emojis, a cool little Spidey badge, and early access to all of my upcoming videos. With that being said, this is the Synth Voice Network, signing off for the night. See ya!